Coming up on today's Locked On Big Ten, Matt Sheehan is in to break down the bets around the Big Ten this weekend. One big game and a bunch of other ones in the conference too, but every team's in action, including yours. You're listening into Locked On Big Ten.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You're listening into Locked On Big Ten. Everything you need to know about the conference every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen of the day. Once you're done, be sure to listen in to Locked On Spartans. Matt Sheehan, our Friday co-host, is there every single weekday updating you on everything you need to know about Michigan State, who has a big matchup this weekend against Ohio State, the marquee game of the weekend in college football. Number 4 in the Buckeyes against number 7 in the Spartans. We talk bets with Matt, and we'll do that in the second segment as we end the week. But we got to talk about this game. It is, as I said, Matt, biggest game in the country this week in Ohio State against a team that's playing better than it has all season. What are you feeling like right now going into a matchup against a powerhouse?
Yeah, you know me. I'm a complete disaster of a man the day before Michigan State games. Like before the Michigan game, the day before that, I just wanted to curl up into a ball and never be seen again. I'm at a weird place right now. I feel a sense of calm because Spartan fans don't listen to this, but like I'm not really expecting a lot here, you know? Like it is a big spread, and we'll get to it later, but it's fluctuating between like 19 and like 21 and a half points. Everyone's expecting a blowout. And that happens when you play at the shoe, you know, like that doesn't make MSU special. Like that's just what happens, unless you're the Oregon Ducks, of course, this year. So, however, with that said, I have begun to start to think of how Michigan State can win this game. And well, I don't think they will. I mean, listen, like if Ohio State throws like their C- game out at you, which we've seen them throw out to teams sometime this year, and Michigan State plays their A+ game, could be looking at a one possession game going into the fourth quarter. That's kind of just where I'm at, though. I mean, my focus is just on Penn State because for a State fan, listen, like I think if you win one of these next two games, that should lock you into a New Year's Six Bowl with the 10-2 record. So that's just, if that's loser mentality, hey, fine. I got a loser mentality going into this game, and I apologize to all State fans. I'm not a representative of the fan base as a whole, but it's kind of where I'm at right now. So.
Many fans do going into a game against Ohio State. We talked to Isaiah Hole about this game yesterday on the show for a little bit. He mentioned in particular that the Ohio State passing game could feast on those Michigan State defensive backs. Your thoughts on that matchup in particular, as he pointed out, as one that's more than just exploitable, kind of obvious.
No, it's 100%. And yeah, just like you said, like it is obvious, like just from a number perspective or eye test perspective, you know, and yeah, listen, hey, I think Michigan State's a good team. I think they're a really good team. However, what's Ohio State's biggest strength? Well, it seems to be is their passing game. What's MSU's glaring weakness? Well, it's the pass defense. And not just that, but oh my, we've got some injuries too to the secondary as well. So it's like if things weren't bad enough in the secondary, how about like some patchwork cornerbacks playing out there for you against this trio of amazing receivers that the Buckeyes have? So like if it wasn't for that combination of just position groups going up against each other, I'd feel okay about this game. But oh boy, does Michigan State love to give up yards through the air. A lot. So,
yeah. We'll get away from the game for a second. I just had this pop into my mind as you were talking. Mel Tucker extension. Thoughts on the new guy getting the new deal?
I could talk about this for a half hour. I'll try to keep it short. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. And, you know, from the outside looking in, I can see why people are skeptical, you know, like, oh, he's only in his second year. He won 2 games last year. The second year's not even over. I mean, he's still got an Ohio State game and a Penn State game down the pipeline. Are you really sure you want to offer him about like 48 Brinks trucks worth of money? Yeah, because like quite frankly, what is plan B for Michigan State here, right? Let him walk, do a coaching search for the second time in a 3-year span while LSU's open, while USC's open, while Florida might be open, while Washington's open, Virginia Tech. Like there's going to be a lot of openings here. It's going to be a crazy coaching carousel. You want to throw your hat in that ring. That's really what you want to do. So, no, and of course, I'll state the obvious here. It is awesome to have billionaire alumni that just sink their money into a football program. Oh my goodness gracious. I've never been more happy to spend someone else's money. This is a great time. So no, it's awesome. And yeah, it's a fantastic spot that MSU is in, because how many times do we see a coaching hires and by year 2, you could already tell it's not going to go anywhere. We're on the opposite end. There is a reason he's getting this much money. It's because he is a desirable candidate. So hey, if you got a few billionaire alumni that want to play some football and win some football, hey, life's good in East Lansing. So yeah, hopefully this thing gets signed though pretty soon, because I'm a nervous person. I just like when things are finalized.
It does seem that Michigan State has its man for the football program, and the culture is obviously all bought in through the first 2 years, at least, both inside and around with the fan base as well. We'll get into, of course, bets with everything with Matt in just a second, but one more thing with this Ohio State matchup. You mentioned Ohio State's going to need to play a certain kind of game, and Michigan State's going to need to play its best game for there to even be any sort of shot here. But if that happens at the end of the day, how is this game kind of road mapped into a Michigan State win? How do the Spartans win it?
Yeah, like I think point blank, this game is going to be a race to 45 points. So I'm not going to go like too detailed. Offense just has to click, man, and that relies on Kenneth Walker. And I think of, and this might be silly, but I think of the Oregon game, and I think of the Minnesota game. Like Ohio State really hasn't faced an insane run attack ever since those games, and it kind of bit them. It was a close game against Minnesota. They obviously lost to Oregon. Now, with that said, I know what I'm saying. Like, those games might have been 4 years ago. Like, that was so far back. So that is where some of my hope maybe comes, is that Kenneth Walker, one of the best, if not the best running back in the nation, can get things done against them and help MSU win this race to 45 points. So it's, that's it pretty much. And also from the defensive end, listen, we're going to get picked apart in the pass game, but can you just get a pass rush to maybe speed things up here and rattle CJ Stroud's cage a little bit, which is very tough because his pocket presence is pretty good. Hey, that ends up Ohio State. It's got a good quarterback. Wow. How new is that? Awesome. Great.
45 is a lot of points, but we've talked plenty on this show about how expecting much less from the Buckeyes is a bit foolish. We'll see what Michigan State can do tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk more about that game here from the betting side in just a minute, as well as the other 6 from around the Big Ten. It's not a whole lot of appetizing stuff outside of that big matchup, at least for the watching football side. We'll see if there's anything as far as making money goes in a minute here with Matt Sheehan on Locked On Big Ten. This episode of Locked On Big Ten is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's has been around your community since 1965, providing not only the great tasting and great priced food, but also being a place for you to go with friends or family just to reconnect, meet up, or do anything else. You've been having great food at McDonald's for a while, but if you think about it, you've probably been making some great memories too. So head on over to your local McDonald's, get that great food, and again, get those great memories going as well. It's McDonald's, the place to go for anything that you may need for a quick bite, and also a place to go to reconnect as well. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Back in here on Locked On Big Ten alongside Matt Sheehan, our Friday co-host. I'm Nate Dickinson. We're talking all the best lines from around the Big Ten this weekend. We, of course, spent the first segment breaking down the big matchup between the Buckeyes and the Spartans, so might not get to every game here as we wrap up the week, but we'll, of course, highlight everything you need to know, starting with the biggest game of the weekend, Ohio State, Michigan State. We already talked about it a lot. Lines at -19 at the moment at betonline.ag in favor of the Buckeyes at home. Over-under all the way up to 68.5. If you want to bet Michigan State money line, it's plus 660 for the Spartan fans who may be listening in for Matt here today. Matt, we've talked about what this game could look like. Let's talk about where we think it actually ends up at the end as far as putting our money where the mouth is. This is a huge line for a top 10 matchup, but Ohio State's a different kind of team.
Yeah, it's massive. And for a top 10 matchup, whenever you see a massive spread like this, like I tend to just go with the favorite team here. Like, because, from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, these teams are both in the top 10. It can't be a 3-touchdown defeat. Like, oh yeah, it can. Yeah, I go back to 2017 for sit down and Uncle Matt's going to give you a history lesson. Very similar game back in 2017. MSU was having this remarkable year that no one expected. And at the end of the season comes along, I think it was the second to last game or third to last game, They're going out to Columbus to play the Buckeyes. It's awesome. Both teams are ranked in the top 15, if not the top 10. This is going to be a close game, and the line comes out, and it's 17. What? No, that doesn't make sense. Absolutely not. Oh, yeah, it made sense. It was like 400-0 by the end of the first quarter. Like, Vegas knows what they're talking about when it comes to top 10 matchups. So if I had to pick, I will take Ohio State minus 19. With that said, Nate, you know me. I love myself some totals. And I'm going to allude to what I just talked about last segment. I think it's a race to 45 points if MSU has to win. So, yeah, we're going to go over 68.5. I mean, why not? We're going to join the public here. I think 80% of the money is on that over. And yeah, you know what? Screw it. Why not? We'll join the public. Why not? Public pools aren't that bad. Come on now.
Yeah, 19 points, a lot of points there. It's again, a lot of, or I'm sorry, 19 points, a lot of spread, 68.5, a lot of points for a total to go back and forth on. It's a lot for, again, you just got to be confident wherever you're headed on this one. It's not anything where you're going to really be able to dive into the numbers all that much on it. As I mentioned before we dove into the break, it was a bit of a dull slate in this Big Ten schedule. I mentioned this yesterday with Isaiah. Second to last weekend, there's a lot of big games next week. Big Ten's not really trying to schedule, I don't think, a ton of huge matchups on this weekend, even in the preseason, even when it doesn't know what's going to happen. But we do have a potential for good games in like Nebraska, Wisconsin, I mentioned yesterday. Nebraska's played teams good. Wisconsin's playing maybe the best football out of any team on that side of the Big Ten right now. But the spread right now sits at 9.5 in favor of the Badgers, over under at 43.5, which is pretty high for a Wisconsin game. But it's also the second lowest spread, I believe. No, actually the closest. Yeah, no, second closest spread in all of the weekend across the Big Ten. And only the second one that even gets into the single digits. So can Nebraska play with Wisconsin? I mentioned it yesterday. This might be the team on upset alert this week, these Badgers.
I don't hate that. Yeah, but man, I'm just in the weirdest relationship, the most toxic relationship with Wisconsin. Like, I go into the season just singing their praises. Like, they're an awesome team. They're going to come out of the West. I mean, their quarterback, Graham Mertz, he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. And then he starts sucking. And then I start ripping him. And I'm like, this guy sucks. I can't believe it. Maybe he's throwing with his wrong hand, yada, yada, yada. And so then I bet against Wisconsin. I've lost like 5 weeks in a row betting against Wisconsin. Like, it's got to hit eventually, right? So, like, I'm going to go Nebraska +9 as I'm shouting this from my cardboard box that I now live in because, you know, Graham Mertz and the Badgers have now made me broke. Yeah, so sure, I could talk myself into Nebraska stunning them. Why not? Like, they can't keep beating the spread, like not 6 weeks in a row. So that's my logic here, is that, hey, eventually the other side of the coin has to be brought up here. So that's just a horrible way to go about betting. But hey, here we are. I know what I'm doing. I know this is bad. But sometimes you just got to get reckless when you're picking games here.
I mean, nobody can really say they know exactly what's going on with Wisconsin. The only thing that we do know is just that it's all of a sudden become an offense that knows how to play the football game the right way. And we'll see if that continues. It doesn't seem like I've been waiting too. I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop here and for this team to go back to being the team that honestly it wasn't just that it had started off so badly, but it was being so consistent in the things that it was doing wrong that you just felt it so committed to the idea that this was what this team was. But again, give credit to Paul Chryst. He knows more about football than both of we do, obviously, and he figured it out. So good for him. Wisconsin honestly has gained the confidence, I think, over the last month to be able to say, yeah, they should be able to beat Nebraska without any problem, but we'll see what happens. BetOnline.ag is your place to go for all of your online sports betting needs. If you're going to bet on anything, football, basketball, hockey is in full swing again too. You can head on over to betonline.ag and sign up with our promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's promo code Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus at betonline.ag. It's your place to go for anything that you need sports betting wise online. Your online sportsbook experts at BetOnline. Built Bar is the best place to go for your protein supplements. They've got, of course, all the nutrients that you want out of these products. Of course, the protein, low carbs, low sugar, and 100% chocolate on the bars too. But they also provide the great taste that you don't get anywhere else. Built Bar has new flavors coming out all the time. They're trying to get you hooked on just one, so you keep on coming back for more, because they know that they've already got all of the nutrients and nutrition stuff down. Now they just need to make sure that they get you on a great flavor. Again, 100% chocolate on all the bars. You can go to built.com, see everything that they have as far as their products and pricing. And if you use promo code LOCKED15, you'll get 15% off your order at the website. Again, that's built.com. Go ahead and try them out. Built Bars, seriously, outstanding tasting protein bars. Michigan faces off against Ohio State next week. I don't know why it was showing me that line when I first looked at Bet Online, but the Maryland line's at 15 points in favor of the Wolverines. Over under is at 57.5. It's by the way, 7.5 in favor of the Buckeyes, opening up early for next week on Bet Online for the Michigan Ohio State game. But let's start with the one we've got to play here tomorrow. Michigan is 15-point favorites against Maryland. Over-unders at 57.5, with a couple of teams that can put up points, don't always, but can put up points. I'm interested to hear where you think about everything about this game.
Yeah, I'm going full broken record player here. I say this every week, but like I just hate betting like Maryland football games. Like I never know what to expect. However, like I start to think I kind of expect like just bad football out of Maryland once the month of November rolls around. I think in the last 4 years, they are a combined 1-17 in the month of November. It's not good. But then there's like the weird aspect of, well, yeah, like the Super Bowl is next week with Ohio State and Michigan. Like, will Michigan be overlooking Maryland? Then again, like you probably can overlook Maryland in the month of November and still be fine. But to the tune of 15.5 points, God, that is such a good number. Vegas is really good at this, man, of just giving you hard numbers. So, of course, as I do, I divert to the total, Nate, as I tend to do time to time. I'm going to go under 57.5. I got to see Maryland's offense up close and personal last week in East Lansing. Not too inspiring. That is not the same offense that we all saw in September. And, Michigan, I can't imagine are just going to go absolutely crazy. Like, if they get a comfortable lead, I think they pull the dogs back, maybe give their second guys some run and save the legs for the big game in Ann Arbor next week. So, yeah, I'm going to go under 57.5 and be a coward and, once again, not pick a Maryland spread. So, sorry.
I like Maryland plus 15. I was thinking this game could easily be a shootout and take over, but I'll take that firsthand scouting from you last week and get off that over. Just take the line.
Good. It's not good. Yeah, it's not good.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot of things to say about any of the other games around the Big Ten, but we haven't talked about the closest line of the weekend. Indiana is a 7-point underdog at home against Minnesota. Gophers are still a good team, still can't beat Iowa, is just the thing. And Indiana is still winless in the Big Ten. I don't know how this game plays out. I think both these teams have the capability to mess it up enough to make it close, but it should be an easy Minnesota win if everything goes according to honestly what's happened the rest of the year.
I'm kind of right with you, man. I mean, yeah. Indiana, the wheels have fallen off. Understandably so. I mean, they're on their 14th quarterback of the season. Like, yeah, it's not the ideal year for them so far. And yeah, once again, it's Maryland in the East that I hate to bet on. It's Minnesota in the West that I refuse to bet on. So, Nate, I'm just going to hold your hand and you guide me to whatever bet that you're feeling for that game. So, yeah, let's go Gophers, baby. Roll the boat. Woo, let's get it popping. I do have one tidbit of a not sexy game whatsoever, though, that wanted to get to. Not to hijack your show, but I feel like this is a fun little stat here that Rutgers and Penn State, 7 meetings, the under has hit all 7 times. So once again, that's right. Old Maddie totals over here. We're not going to play that spread. We're not going to be playing that 17, 16-point spread. It keeps bouncing back and forth, but we will be playing that under 47 when the Scarlet Knights visit Happy Valley and the Penn State Indy Lions. So under city, baby.
46.5 on redonline.ag. If it changes,
excuse me, okay,
your bet.
Let's go. All right.
And thinking of it.
No, not at all. No. It'll have to get down to 35.5 for me to even think of going over, baby. That's right. That's right. Under city.
A lot to look around the weekend. Again, Michigan State, Ohio State's there. But aside from that, I mean, even that Michigan or Minnesota, Indiana spread at 7 being the closest to the weekend kind of gives you a look at what this slate is. It's not the most exciting, but of course your team is in action if you're a Big Ten fan. And there's, of course, value to every win out there when you're fighting for bowl eligibility, better bowl games, Big Ten positioning. Still, of course, plenty of teams involved in that race as well, which means we still got plenty to talk about with Matt Sheehan every single Friday here on Locked On Big Ten. And he has plenty to discuss with you on the Spartans Monday through Friday on Locked On Spartans. Matt, before we let you go, thanks as always for coming on. Remind the people where they can get your stuff.
You can find me on Twitter, Sheehan_sports, and of course the Locked On Spartans podcast. Or if you want to meet me in person, I will be on a couch, despondent, drowning myself in Miller Lite, as MSU tries to make it somewhat competitive against the Ohio State Buckeyes. So drop by, come see me. It'll be a good time.
Win or lose, he'll be recovered by next Friday and back with us here on Locked On Big Ten. Matt Sheehan again with us every week here on the show. Thanks for listening in to Locked On Big Ten.